What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, guys. We back in Sweden. Came across this video. We got Swedes don't want you to know this about Sweden. Found this interesting. This from the channel, my guy, just a Brit abroad, I believe. So you can check this out, see what this about. You know, the interesting title. So y'all hit that subscribe button. And let's see what Swedes want us to know about Sweden.
Right here on my YouTube channel. I've been making videos right here on my YouTube channel for almost an entire year now.
Nice.
About my experiences of life in Sweden and some tips and tricks to help you get by if you're planning to move here. And if you've been watching for a while, you probably think you've got a pretty good idea of the things that you need to know to be ready for your new life in Sweden. And I mean, you're not wrong. I've done a lot of videos on this channel on a whole host of different topics. But there's one thing that I've not really got round to addressing until now. Because just like any other country, Sweden has an underbelly of things that you kind of only really get to grips with once you've lived here and once you learn them for yourself. Let me put it this way. If you write to a Swedish friend and say, what are the things that I need to know before moving to Sweden? There's a whole list of things that they think of, but then there's a whole other list of things that they just never even cross their mind. It's the things that if you live here, you just take for granted, and you would never think to tell anybody else. The secrets, if you will, to getting by with your new life in Sweden.
And I can feel that because sometimes, have you ever just, it's something that you probably totally forgot about, but somebody do something or you see something, and that bring back memories from like 5-10 years ago just about. Like, that happens to me, you know. We all forget in that moment, but then something happens and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you.
Let me be clear here. I'm not saying that they're leaving these things out on purpose. They're just so ingrained into the way that people live and the things that happen here that nobody thinks to tell you. You just have to kind of work them out for yourself. And now that I've begun noticing a few of these things, I thought it would be fun to put 5 of them into a video together to share with you guys here today, to make sure you're even more prepared for that big trip to Sweden. So why don't you stick with me for the next few minutes as I dive deep into the underbelly of Swedish culture and some of the things that they just don't tell you about Sweden.
Just a Brit abroad.
Number 1. Tipping is not mandatory in Sweden. Now, depending on where you're from in the world, your experience of tipping culture will be vastly different. So if you're from the USA, for example, and specifically a city like New York, it's almost enforced that you have to give a tip at the end of a meal.
That gotta be a Mr. Beast video. Boy, that's too much. That's a lot of money.
And the reason for that is because it's widely known that the servers aren't really earning enough money to live on. They're kind of earning not even the livable wage. And so it's expected that you will tip them usually about 20 or 25% of the total bill in order to make sure that they get that money they need and are able to get on with their lives. So you can understand that if you're that person that doesn't tip them, they will come and confront you. They want to know what they did wrong, why they're not.
I think I'll feel guilty.
Whereas here in Europe, it's a little bit different. In the UK, for example, we will quite often give a tip, usually if the service is particularly good, but it's not mandatory by any means, and you will not be confronted if you don't give somebody a tip. And again, you'll usually do that based on a percentage of the total bill, usually between 5 and 15%. But what they don't tell you is that when you move here to Sweden, if you start going around giving all of your servers 25% by way of tip, I'm sure they'll be delighted, but it's absolutely not expected. Yes, that's right. We've talked on this channel before about the taxation system here in Sweden, and specifically the state services if you're an employee. And it has to be said that the minimum wage here in Sweden is fairly high, and it's quite normal that if you work in one of those hospitality jobs, that your wage will actually include the kind of value that you would expect to get from tips.
And I heard that in another video, they were saying, like, if you start getting more tips, that means they can lower your pay or something, because that's why, of course, we have waitresses, waiters. I'm telling you, they don't get paid nothing. I think like $2-3 an hour. But I ain't gonna lie, because of the tipping culture here, they can still walk home with like $400-500 a night, especially in the weekend. Like, they can walk home with, depending on the restaurant, of course, but you can make $100-200 a day, even on a slow day. In America, being a waiter or a waitress, like, believe it or not, I used to be a waiter my first year in college, and I was walking away with about, especially those slow tables, I was walking away with like at least $70-100 a day. Then the weekend, about $300-500, depending on who coming. But that lunch rush and dinner rush be different.
Do it by any stretch of the imagination. No, it's still reserved for that really special and exceptional experience. So if you go out to your local Italian restaurant and you think, you know what, tonight they really outdone themselves, that was fantastic, why not give them a tip?
But people don't talk about this because, we talk about tip, but we don't talk about the customer service type part because sometimes when you get a certain table, it's hard dealing with certain customers, because it's almost like they feel like you want this tip, you finna have to, like, some people have that mindset, and they try to make you work a little extra hard just for that tip, that 10% that really ain't nothing, especially if it's $50. That 10%, that's nothing. What is that, $5? If I'm not mistaken, my calculation may be wrong, but that's nothing. So I feel like here in the States, they try to make you work hard for that tip. And sometimes the customers can be just so rude or in that moment type thing. So I would rather not get a tip and be able to, have customers that enjoy the service that I do bring, whether it's top notch or, or not. But just that mindset that you got to work for this, I think that's what gets, because people just feel obligated that their service just got to be top notch every time. I wouldn't mind, coming, taking your order, giving you your food and leaving you alone. But here you gotta, hey, everything they want you to come to the table about 20 times.
It's a really nice way to show your appreciation and respect for the experience that you've had. But that said, if you don't, they're not going to be upset. And I'd say it's a lot more common that lots of people here in Sweden are just rounding up that bill. So if the bill comes to 480 crowns, for example, or maybe they'll top it up to 500 just to make it nice and round. Another cultural habit that you definitely won't be told about when you move to Sweden and that you'll have to work out for yourself takes us to the supermarket. Yes, let me ask you this. If you've been to your local ICA or Hemköp recently, have you noticed that the Swede in front of you in the queue when you line up to pay is very neatly and intricately laying out all of the items on the conveyor belt one after one, rotating the pepper, turning around that bag of flour. Have you seen that? And have you wondered what's going on? Well, allow me to make you part of the in club by filling you in on this important detail. In fact, this is just the Swedes doing a real common courtesy and human decency to that server or cashier that is working at the supermarket. What they're trying to do is make sure that the process to get the groceries is as easy and smooth, both for them and the cashier.
I'll be doing that. I'll be trying to do that too.
Turning the item around to make sure that the barcoded side is facing the scanner and also facing them, which therefore means that when the cashier picks it up, they can just scan it and move it along the conveyor belt. It helps keep everything running smoothly.
We actually have Aldi's, like you have to sack your own groceries, but at the Aldi's, like they're super fast with it though. They are super fast. It don't even matter if you making sure the barcode in front so they can see it. They just super fast and just, but yeah, I can understand. I do that too. I think I do it because I'm not that type of person, but sometimes I'm like, all right, this can go in a sack together. So I try to lay them out as according to how they should sack it, type of thing.
If you don't believe
which
me,
make it easier for them.
A thing here in Sweden. Keep a lookout next time you're in your local Willys or your local ICA, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Not to mention, can you name the last time that you saw a stack of items lined up on top of each other at a conveyor belt in a Swedish supermarket? Because I highly doubt it. So I guess you could say that even the groceries here in Sweden like to keep a 2-meter distance. The third secret of Swedish culture is something that I've touched on a number of times in my videos, but I've never really deep dived into, and it's probably one of the most requested topics that I get all the time from you guys. And it's the unspoken jantelagen, or law of Jante, if you translate it into English. What this means is that people are discouraged from going around and bragging or showing off unnecessarily. It's the kind of attitude that says that you should not be standing out or showing off or thinking you're more superior than anybody else. They want everyone to blend in and everyone to be equal to one another. You've probably even noticed it in the Swedish workplace. It's not common that someone will go around bragging about their achievements. In fact, they'll probably just keep them to themselves, be happy and pleased on the inside. And to be honest, the jury is out on this one, because depending on who you ask here in Sweden, there are varied opinions on whether jantelagen is something that we should aspire towards or something we should ditch. And I know what you're thinking. Bro. On paper, this sounds idyllic. It's a way to make sure that nobody feels like they're more superior than anyone else, no one tries to steal the spotlight from each other, everyone gets that equality and respect that they deserve. Great, right? And it is. I think the kind of ambition behind it is really good, but the problem is there's this dark underbelly that's developed alongside jantelagen, which actually has some more kind of sinister motives behind it. Yes, that's right, because there's a little bit more of a sinister undertone when you read some of the lines of this jantelagen tradition, where it states things such as, you should not think that you are good enough, You should not think that you can
you're
teach
anything
others
special.
things.
Is get a
And
bit
most
smarter.
importantly, you
Dang.
shouldn't be fooled into thinking that others care about you. Now, if you talk to lots of Swedes, they'll tell you that jantelagen is a little bit outdated now, and although the premises are good, there's parts of it that need to be reworked for the future.
I think it depends on like the certain type of career, what you do, because I mean, everywhere I see, it don't matter where you from. Like, if you're a millionaire, you're gonna have a big house, nice house, probably a couple of houses. Gonna have nice cars and all these things like that. I was just watching. My wife been watching the Cristiano Ronaldo, his wife, and you should see their houses in Spain. It's I ain't never seen that in those Spain videos, those type of houses, but I'm sure like people, it's some luxury around here. I haven't seen too much luxury in these other countries, but then again, I see these millionaires, they got some very luxury stuff in Europe. It's nice. It's nice, but
there's also people that
I guess that just comes with the territory.
You know what? This doesn't work in society today. We should be allowed to be proud of our achievements as long as we do that in a respectful way and don't make people feel bad as a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So as I say, the jury is really out. If you're Swedish yourself, let us know down in the comments below what's your take on jantelagen and its applicability in society today. The fourth thing that you will only ever find out by doing here in Sweden takes us into the territory of vacation days. So I hope you're listening up. And I have to say that when I first learned this one, I was shocked, but at the same time, I think it's very, very fair of the Swedish state. Let me paint the scene for you guys. When I first started working my very first job here in Sweden, I was responsible for working alongside a team of developers to drive them towards a goal. And in that job, I also had responsibility for making sure that I knew which resources I had available and which ones weren't around in town. And for that reason, when one of my developers said, you know what, I need to take some holiday in a month, is that okay? It was me that helped to make sure that got approved or not.
Oh, wow.
And this happened on one particular occasion. I approved someone's leave, and then during that leave period, he wrote in to say, my child is sick today, so I'm not going to be taking a vacation day today anymore. And I was confused. Because where I'm from, at least, you've already booked a vacation day, so I already know you're going to be off. So just because you're sick or your kid's sick,
need that
or
extra
some
day,
circumstances changed, what does that mean? You know, you were already off, so why are you telling me? And that's the day that I learned that here in Sweden, you can actually change out some of those different days depending on the reason that you're off. So if you'd planned to be off to go on holiday somewhere and then you got sick for a week, you're not expected to still take those holiday days. In fact, you can trade them in for sick days, which you register with the state instead and get compensated differently for. But before you get any ideas about just taking weeks,
so do you get the extra week?
And weeks of vacation and then converting them into sick days afterwards, you should know that that very first day that you are sick or that you register as having a bug or the flu or something, you're not paid at all. No, in fact, there is a special compensation here in Sweden that says from the second day and onwards, you'll get 80% of your salary, but that first day, you will not be compensated at all. And whilst this is a bit of a side point, I must admit, I still don't really understand why you're not compensated for that first day, because let's be honest, if I'm off with a fever and I'm already feeling crap as it is, and then I'm not earning anything for that day, it's like, what's the incentive to actually tell the truth and say that I can't work that day if I'm still going to lose out anyway? Which leads me nicely on to the fifth and final thing that you will not be told until you get here to Sweden. The fifth thing that you have to experience for yourself. And again, this is another way that the state...
before he go into the fifth, y'all gotta let me know. I didn't know you can switch it up like that. Like usually if you're on vacation, you just get sick here. Like I never heard of anybody like, hey, can I switch this day for a sick day instead? Because it's always been, if you off, you just off.
It comes in and affects the way that law and order is restored here in Sweden. Yes, because did you know that if you want to have a child here in Sweden, you actually have to register that child's name onto a government portal and they will let you know whether you're allowed to call your child that or not. And I don't mean that this is some sick or twisted way to make sure there's not too many Victors or too many Marias out in the society. Oh no, it's just to make sure that you are not calling your child something stupid. So here's a selection of some of the names that people have tried to call their kids which have been rejected. The so-called banned list of names here in Sweden. IKEA, Superman, Q, Elvis, Michael Jackson.
What?
And not to mention...
I know some Michael Jordans, Michael Jacksons. I mean, we got Michael B. Jordan, which is technically Michael Jordan. They just put the B, so it would be... There's a lot of Michael Jacksons out there. That's weird. That's crazy.
This one, which I have no idea how I'm supposed to pronounce. I don't
They
think I
got
would.
numbers in
And
their
jokes
name.
aside,
What?
I have to admit, I think this is a really, really logical and really sensible thing to do, because these kids then have to walk around parading through town with
That's
these names
funny.
for the rest of their lives, and we don't want them to be laughed at and made fun of just because
That's
their
true.
parents
That's true.
had a weird and twisted sense of humor.
I'm telling, cause some kids they be have some interesting names. They do, like just working in education. I think, which is not bad. There was one kid, their name was Beautiful. There's another kid, their name was like Hennessy. I think I'm a loser if somebody's name is beer or tequila or something like that. Or I think, matter of fact, somebody's name is tequila. Now that I think about it, but yeah, these parents, like, I know my name D'Artagnan. You might think that's interesting too, but it's like, come on now. We naming our kids after objects out here. Somebody name gonna be table and chair later.
So props to Sweden for doing this. I think this is something lots more countries should be, and perhaps even are now beginning to adopt. But it's just something that you're not told until you're having a child here in Sweden.
Crazy.
And with that said, we reached the end of another one of my videos. Thank you so much for watching. Smash that like button if you haven't done so already, and then you can subscribe, turn on that bell, so that you're one of the first people to be notified as soon as one of my new videos comes out, because I am posting every week at the minute. It would be awesome to have you guys along to enjoy all of those videos when they got put out. If you're Swedish yourself, let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think of these videos? Is there anything today that I've mentioned that you think maybe...
Okay, yeah, that's funny. That's funny, the band names. That is hilarious. But I think it can be needed, because, like I said, some people do be naming their kids anything. I think I know a kid named Ocean. When you think about it, you just, like, as you grow up, you don't really think about it. I mean, you might be like, what type of name is that at first? But then you get so used to it, you just start calling them that, because it becomes the norm later and stuff like that. But very interesting video. Very interesting. But that's all I have. Y'all hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think. Send me some more video suggestions. Hey, give this video a thumbs up. Y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.